I don't think there's gonna be any meetings in Oman on Friday. Not based on what just happened a few minutes ago. And let me just, and I'm not gonna stay on too long because I'm not gonna just hang out and watch. We have to see. I don't think anything's gonna happen. I don't think there's gonna be a meeting Friday. And let me just set everything up first. And I'll tell you why. There will be no meeting on Friday. That's why I put the title that way. Let me see if I can find the actual statement before I start talking about it. There'll probably be no. The Iranians are going to pull out. If I had to guess, they're pulling out. Good morning, everybody. They're going to pull out. Let me see if it's posted yet anywhere. May not be. I'm going to find out. Because this will totally cancel the meeting. In my view, it's a done deal. Let's see if anybody's talking about it. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there it is. It's out. Iran International's talking about it. Oh, don't believe in the meeting. Not after what Rubio said. That's why I put question mark. I heard about it a few minutes ago, and I was wondering, are they mentioning on X? Well, they are. I see Iran International talking about it. I'm going to put it. They are on it pretty quick. I got to give Iran International some props because they're on it. Breaking. I saw it on TV. Talks with Iran would need to include discussions on Tehran's ballistic missile program to lead to any meaningful outcome, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said, adding that the venue for the negotiations is still being worked out. They're in Oman. It's done. Iran doesn't want to talk about their ballistic missile program, only nuclear. They've made that clear. It's done. There will be probably no meeting. And it's... Alexa, stop. I don't think... Yes, I think it's a done deal. As far as no meeting. Or they might go to the meeting. Alexa, stop. And things are not going to be agreed upon, obviously. They don't want to talk about their ballistic missile program. Rubio made it clear they must talk about their ballistic missile program. That's a non-starter. I'm surprised that they got on this that fast. I'm actually surprised. I give them credit because this is fresh. Talks with I'm obviously going to them. And this is like, look, 16 minutes ago they just posted it, and I heard about it a half hour ago. I was like, I got to get on. I got to go talk about this. Talks with Iran would need to further include the discussions with the ballistic program to lead to any meaningful outcome. That's what Rubio said. He's the Secretary of State. He's not Steve Witkoff. They're not going to agree to that. They're not. So, I don't see things, honestly, I don't see things working out at all. I don't. Unless something miraculous happens, and Iran, they're not going to. The ballistic missile program is not on the table. At least that's what they say. Rubio also added that Washington is ready to meet with Iran on Friday if Tehran wants to proceed with talks. With that caveat, missile program must be discussed. Dan, I definitely agree that it could pop off at any time. It could pop off at any time because you already could see what's happening here. And we all kind of knew that was going to happen. I think most of us did. That it was all bluster, talk, stalling. This here, to me, I mean, we can watch this. We can wait for the hammer to drop. I get it. That's one thing. It's what's going on behind the scenes, and we can pretty much read the tea leaves of what's going on. When Rubio says the ballistic missile program, and it's funny because this is breaking. This is literally breaking. And I'm trying to see if any other outlets are talking about it. With Rubio. I mean, it's more is starting to come out. I want to see what this is. Hold on, I'm going to pause. I don't know if this is the actual video of Rubio. Good morning, everybody. Yeah. Fox can say whatever they want. The talks are still scheduled for Oman. But after Rubio just said the ballistic missile programs has to be part of the discussions, Iran is going to be like, hell no, we only want to talk about the nuclear. Iran is probably going to pull out. If I had to guess. Let me see if this is it, though.
Friday's talks with Iran.
But after Rubio... All right, hold on, let me pause. This is it. This is the clip. I found it. This is very important. Very, very importante. Hold on. Why did I hear my audio bleed? We should not have. Right here. Okay, got it. All right. Let's put it on the screen.
Of Friday's talks with Iran and clarify, given that Iran refuses to negotiate its missile program and insists on a right to enrich uranium, is the U.S. open to a compromise if that means reaching a deal to avoid military action? And separately, if I may, how exactly do these negotiations advance President Trump's repeated pledges to help the Iranian protesters, many of whom are likely to see these nuclear talks as legitimizing the very government that violently massacred its own people?
Well, let me first say just on the logistics. At the end, let me back up and say from a big picture perspective, I think it's pretty clear right now. President Trump is willing to talk to and meet with and engage with anyone in the world. I mean, that we don't view meetings as a concession. We don't view meetings as even legitimization. It is our willingness to sit and listen and talk to anyone, any adversary, any ally, obviously, but anyone around the world. And so the president's always been open to that. He showed that in the first administration, and he's showing it again now. And so I think if there's an opportunity to engage directly with counterparts in the Iranian regime, the United States would be open to that, and that's what we're open to. We thought we had an established forum that had been agreed to in Turkey. It was put together by a number of partners who wanted to attend and be a part of it. I saw conflicting reports yesterday from the Iranian side saying that they had not agreed to that. So that's still being worked through. At the end of the day, the United States is prepared to engage and has always been prepared to engage with Iran. As far as the topic of those discussions and what the agenda needs to be, look, I think in order for talks to actually lead to something meaningful, they will have to include certain things. And that includes the range of their ballistic missiles. That includes their sponsorship of terrorist organizations across the region. That includes the nuclear program, and that includes the treatment of their own people. The fundamental problem Iran faces and the regime faces right now is that what people are on the streets complaining about, this regime cannot address. They cannot address it because it's economic. Those problems remain. And one of the reasons why the Iranian regime cannot provide the people of Iran the quality of life that they deserve is because they're spending all their money. They're spending all their resources of what is a rich country, sponsoring terrorism, sponsoring all these proxy groups around the world, exporting, as they call it, their revolution. But I remind everybody what I've been saying through my entire career in public service. I said it in my hearing when I was asking for confirmation through the Senate. The Iranian people and the Iranian regime are very unalike. In essence, what the Iranian people want, this is a culture with a deep history. These are people that are the leadership of Iran at the clerical level does not reflect the people of Iran. I know of no other country where there's a bigger difference between the people that lead the country and the people who live there.
Now what do you think? Now what do you think? You think there's going to be a meeting now? After seeing that? Do you? We would like to meet them if they want to meet. Would like. They're not going to agree to this. This is not Witkoff talking. This is Rubio. It's a big difference coming from him. He said the ballistic missile program. He said the proxy money. He said the people of Iran. Finally, somebody made it clear what is going to be on the table from the U.S. side. Finally, it's been made clear. I've been waiting for this. Someone to say it. Because all we heard was nuclear. Well, Rubio just made this statement a little while ago, and I seen it on TV. I was like, and that's why I rushed to come on, because this is important. Yeah, watching maps, talking stuff, that's all interesting, because I do it all the time. I've been doing it for weeks. And he definitely mentioned about the people. And we should watch this again, because people might be just coming in. This is a non-starter, and I can only imagine what they're saying now. You can only imagine. Because in their minds, they probably heard Rubio's statement already, I'm sure. It's only been out for a little while. And they're saying, oh, hell no. They want to talk about the ballistic missile. It's a non-starter. It's a non-starter just with that. And look, again, let's not hear the whole thing, but what he said about the concerns. This is important.
That includes the treatment of their own people.
Yeah, let's go back. This is important.
Agreed to that. So that's still being worked through.
Okay.
At the end of the day, the United States is prepared to engage and has always been prepared to engage with Iran. As far as the topic of those discussions and what the agenda needs to be, look, I think in order for talks to actually lead to something meaningful, they will have to include certain things. And that includes the range of their ballistic missiles. That includes their sponsorship of terrorist organizations across the region. That includes the nuclear program, and that includes the treatment of their own people. The fundamental problem Iran faces and the regime faces right now is that what people are on the streets complaining about, this regime cannot address. They cannot address it because it's economic. Those problems remain. And one of the reasons why the Iranian regime cannot provide the people of Iran the quality of life that they deserve is because they're spending all their money. They're spending all their resources of what is a rich country sponsoring terrorism, sponsoring, all the.
Again, people can debate the right of Iran as a sovereign country to have the ability to protect itself and have a missile program and all that. That's not what I'm getting involved in here. I'm not going to get in the muck. What I'm trying to point out is why I titled the stream that way. Will there be meetings? After seeing this, the U.S. position, all those are on the table, which were originally supposed to be on the table. We weren't hearing about that being on the table. All we heard was nuclear. And finally, Rubio made it clear. Iran's, from their perspective, was no way. We're not talking about a ballistic missile program. That's part of their sovereignty to defend themselves, having the missile capability, whatever. That's their position. We understand all that. That's not what I'm saying is, do you think there will be a meeting on Friday after Rubio said this? It's a non-starter. Iran's going to say, well, that's not what we want to talk about. We want to talk about the nuclear issue only. We're not going in there to talk about the missiles. We're not going in there to talk about the proxies. We're not going in there to talk about all the other stuff. No, they only want to talk about nuclear. I am telling you, I'll be shocked if there's a meeting on Friday. Shocked. Okay, let's see what's coming from the other side. I'm sure they're talking about it already. Oh, they are. They're already posting about it. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, we won't make any nuclear deal with Iran that doesn't include limiting the range of their ballistic missiles so they no longer threaten Israel. I never heard him say that. I mean, they're mixing it up a little. I never heard him say that. I did hear him say about the ballistic missile being part of the conversation. These negotiations are finished before they even start. Absolutely delusional. This is coming from the other side's arm of media. Right off the bat, they're already saying it. The United States is delusional. It's not going to happen. If it happens, I'll be shocked. Shocked. It's starting to spread. But this is fresh. This is new. So it's not really getting around yet on the media. Why would they trust Trump at all? There's no reason to trust Trump. And that's what the parliament person said yesterday. And he said that. I shared it on X. And we'll find that right now. He said, how do you trust the Americans? The last time we were negotiating, they bombed us. I'm not going to actually look for it, but I'm paraphrasing. And we should attack. So I like I said, I think this is done deal. Because obviously they're going to refuse to those terms. I mean, again, if you're looking at it from a pro-regime perspective, they would never give up their ballistic missiles. That's their deterrence against Israel, against the United States, against their enemies. From the U.S.-Israeli point of view, it is about the ballistic missiles and the threat to the region, and especially Israel. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth because I'm sure a lot of people have their different opinions. All I'm saying here is, based on what just came out with Rubio making that statement, I do not think that there's going to be meetings on Friday. That's it. And this is important in the whole context, because the ramifications of what he just said can lead to who knows what now. That's why this is very significant, what Rubio said. Regardless of where you're at with your opinions, that's fine. But I'm just talking about the overall picture here and the consequences. And Rubio finally said the U.S. position, because all we've been hearing is nuclear. People were confused, like, is this only about the nuclear? I was confused. Is this only about the nuclear? Because that's all you heard, nuclear. The people of Iran, the people that want change, because there are obviously some that do not want change, are like, what is this? What's going on? What about us? This wasn't about nuclear. This was about us. It's, again, this is about the reality of the situation. People can have their opinions. All I'm saying is, everybody's trying to get a gauge of where this goes forward. Because we're all like sitting here. You hear the anti-Trump stuff, you hear the pro-Trump stuff. In other words, pro-America, anti-America, all that. We know that. That goes with the territory. But you have to look at the overall picture here. What do you think is coming in the next few days, weeks, months in this situation? That's what we need to be looking at this from a practical, rational, logical point of view. And there was a lot of hope that the meetings were going to occur. Then it was moved from Turkey to Oman, and then omitting Arab states involved in the meeting. And then I heard it was going to be indirect talks that in Oman, that they would be the mediators. They would send the message from the Americans to the Iranians, and then they would bring the message back to the Americans. And they were not high-level meetings. This is what I was researching. I don't even think Witkoff was going to be there. It's possible. But based on, like I said, just what we just witnessed, what Rubio just said, that is what I'm focused on. Because there was some optimism and still, I would say, quite a bit of pessimism. If one, the talks would even happen, and if they happen, anything would come out of it. What I was expecting, they would have talks, and then they would say, okay, we've scheduled to have future talks a week from now, because we've seen that happen in the past. Remember that? Next week, another one happens, then a week passes, another one happens in another location. It was like a world tour going all over the place at different locations to set up different meetings. Remember that? That didn't work out too well. So I think Rubio did this to make it absolutely clear what the U.S. is proposing as part of this negotiation meeting. And Iran has made it clear. We're only going there to talk about the nuclear. And the other countries that were involved in the negotiations had made it clear Iran only wants to talk about nuclear. They will not talk about their missile program. They will not talk about the money to their allies, well, I'll say proxies. And then he also mentioned what everybody wanted to finally hear. What about the Iranian people? I mean, those that want to see the regime change, because there's still quite a bit out there. You see that. We obviously know that. And what did I tell you also? You're going to see people on social media doing what they do because they know the president's policy of no more wars. It's not our problem. They're going to put that out there. Trust me, they're doing that on purpose. So that we say, okay, why should we get involved? Why? To try to convince ourselves, because that's what a lot of Americans' positions are. But they're using that against us. Just like horribly the Epstein files. It's so disgusting what they're doing targeting the president. Remember what, like Tusi said yesterday, and I had spoken it earlier, what the parliament member said. We will have prayers in a month from now for Donald Trump's funeral. I mean, when you hear the rhetoric, that's one thing. The rage baiting. That's one thing. Oh, and you think Iran is going to be like Venezuela? What about Afghanistan? What about Iraq? These are the things they're going to do to put out there. So to try to sway the American public not to back the president on this. Do you understand? You're going to see a lot of that. And trust me, there are a lot of Americans, us, that don't want to get involved in wars. We don't want to get into a conflict that is prolonged. But they know this. They know this. And they're going to use that in their social media posts, jumping into chat rooms all over the place. Because they're trying to get to us and our public opinion here in the States. Though, like I said, there are many of us that don't want no more war. There are many of us say it's not our problem. But they're going to use that. So don't fall for the naivete of the tactics that they're going to be doing and have been doing. Do you understand? Well, when you say divided, I will say they're trying to use the differences between Democrats, and that's nothing new. Nothing new. It's been going on in this country for decades and decades, as far as I can remember. That's why you have the Democratic Party, and that's why you have a Republican Party, independents. There's always division. It's based on the liberal or the conservative. You hear that all the time. But that's how it works. That's how democracy works. How the people, whatever their position is. But that doesn't mean, let me tell you, when something like this happens, do not bet on the division of the United States people, because they will come together. On things like this, it would be a big mistake to bet against the American people coming together and unite on something like this, because it will backfire. It will backfire. And that's why I'm talking about it, because that's exactly what they want to do. Does everybody agree with each other? Absolutely not. That's the freedoms. That's what it's all about. Like, my opinion is different from anyone in chats. But we all have a voice in this country. And a lot of it is represented when we contact people like Rubio or when we go to vote. We, the people, speak out. And that's how we make change. If we don't like when one party is going in a direction for the country, we decide we want to go in a different direction. And that's the way it works. And I hope one day that the people of Iran get to choose how they want to proceed going forward. So, yes. Do we have issues here? Of course. And it's all political. But I would be very careful to underestimate. Yeah, he's I don't know if he's in Dubai, but I know there was going to be a meeting, the trilateral meeting between, I don't know if he's going to be there, between Russia, Ukraine, the United States today in Abu Dhabi, and I think it's supposed to also happen tomorrow. That's another thing. But beside getting into all this, I don't want to even look at chat because I don't want to be swayed about what I'm saying. So, for those here in the United States, it's pretty simple. Do you support your president despite whatever may happen? That's one, because that's what they're going to try to do. Undermine, the backing of our president. They've already threatened our president pretty much directly. That's a big mistake when you do stuff like that, because you bring the whole country together. It's not a smart move. Because regardless if you're a Democrat, Republican, and yes, there's a lot of Democrats, well, probably all of them, who dislike the president. But if you go after the president, and I'm not talking about something internal, foreign, I think it's a pretty good bet, even with the Democrats, that the whole country is going to come together. Especially when it's a foreign entity involved. Oh, that is the worst mistake you can make. It will bring the country together, and then you really have a problem, because that's what you bet on. You want to bet that there's that uncertainty in the American people opinion. Oh, I bet you a lot of them really don't want to get involved in this, and that's true. But to try to weaponize it and use it against us would be a mistake, in my opinion. And I'm, like I said, I'm so glad that Rubio, somebody, finally said the position of the United States moving into these meetings. Because at least now we know it's on the table from our side, because we weren't really clear. I gotta put wood in the fire. It wasn't really clear what it was all about. Was it just nuclear? I mean, a lot of us were like, is it just nuclear? That's right, John. When it comes down to people's freedom, it's a different issue. You have to know what freedom is. You have to have freedom in order to know what freedom is. If that makes any sense. Is ICE leaving? Bill, is ICE leaving those with documents in U.S. passport alone, or they're arresting them too because they are Hispanic? I'm Hispanic. I mean, you got to think where the majority of the undocumented have crossed through. Many of them are South American. I'm Hispanic. I don't see ICE asking me for anything. I mean, the day I get targeted because of my appearance or how I speak, that would be a little different for me then. But I cannot speak for myself as a person of Hispanic heritage who feels he's been targeted or... Now, don't get me wrong. That's one thing. Racism has existed and still exists. And as recent as a couple of years ago when I took a trip to Utah. So I cannot sit here and say that racism does not exist because I've experienced it growing up and even moving here, and because I'm Hispanic. Oh, my appearance makes me look Hispanic. Oh, I experienced my share. Are we a perfect country, perfect nation? Of course not. But it's about improving and trying to make it better. And yes, the ICE stuff that's going on in this country has been used again on social media, saying, well, look at your protests. Look what you're doing. You're killing people. It's one thing to protest with water cannons and tear gas, whatever methods they use. And incidents happen, like what happened in the two people that lost their lives. That was just a tragic situation. It was circumstances that really just happened. But it's not like going on the streets and indiscriminately shooting at your people. Because you know what? If that ever happened here in the United States, we are armed to the teeth. The citizens would never allow a mass slaughter like occurred in Iran. The Americans would never accept something like that. They'd be on the streets with their weapons and shooting back. Not in this country. Not in this country. But, I mean, to go and just shoot indiscriminately at anyone and mass slaughter 30,000+ in 2 nights. I mean, what? Apples and oranges cannot be compared. But they're trying to use it. Hasn't Americans been slowly disarming? No. No. Actually, when the talk happens about the threat to the Second Amendment, gun sales increase. They actually increase. That's a fact. And whenever there's political talk about taking guns away from people or maximizing magazines or whatever it is, gun sales skyrocket. And Americans will tell you that are in chat. They know. I mean, I've got my toys in the... I don't want to call them toys, but I don't want to refer to it. You know, it's almost like every household has one. Except like in places like New York City and other places that have these tough gun laws. But trust me, it's quite a bit. It is the opposite, Mr. Soriano. Absolutely. And that's, look, I grew up in New York City. I've said this numerous times. One of the most diverse cities in the world. And yeah, you know, we have our differences. Stuff happens. But I never had a problem with anyone other than sometimes in school, you know, I might hear like a reference of me being Hispanic. But I will tell you this. When I grew up and I got older in high school and I was with because I was a nerd. I used to dress in slacks, shoes, collared shirts for school, high school. I was like a book nut. I love to study. I love school. But then I got involved in the music because I played trumpet at the time. And that's where I met my metalhead friends. My metalhead friends never, ever made me feel uncomfortable based on this ever. And well, all of them, but very few, a handful were black or Hispanic like me. The majority were white. And you know what? I was their brother. We all stuck together. None of that nonsense. None of it. Matter of fact, an incident happened, and I don't want to get too drawn into this, but there was the younger metalheads, teenagers like myself in high school, and then there was the older crowd in another area of a park. We would all hang out together, and then we would walk where they were. And they pretty much adopted us. They brought us in. And there was one that was like the leader. And somebody said something stupid to me. And he seen it. And I told him, here we go with this racial bullshit. He said, Bill, don't you ever, ever worry about that. We got your back. Because it does happen. You get idiots out there. You're always going to have an idiot. Always. There's always one. Always. There's always one around. That shit got squashed real fast. You back each other. And again, growing up in New York is such a diverse place. From birth, really, growing up in school, you're surrounded by people from all walks of life, all religions, everything. And when you're young, you're not yet, how would I say it? I don't want to say brainwashed, but manipulated by outside sources to have these negative thoughts about other people. You have not been influenced that way yet. It depends on how you're brought up, what your parents teach you. That's a big part of it. The parents' responsibility, the morals involved, respecting other people. That's a whole different issue. But I never had issues with anyone. It was like I didn't see it that way. When you're around with that diversity, I'm sure it still happens today in some areas of the United States where people feel a little awkward. If it's like even up here when I moved up here, and this is a Republican conservative community, and we bought the house. This is 20 years ago. And I heard a neighbor say, I swear, this is what got me pissed. That's why I say it still exists. But this is 20 years ago. Here come the what did they say? Here come the Puerto Ricans, or it was something like that. They didn't say Hispanics. Here come the Puerto Ricans to take over our neighborhood. There goes the neighborhood. I heard it. Now, 20 years later, people get to know you. And that person is gone. They're gone. But they're done. But I did hear that. And how do you think I felt? Not too good. But once people get to know you, then things change. And it did change. And you know what the funny thing is? At the beginning, I would go to try to speak to like my neighbor next door. You need any help? Blah, blah, blah. And right away, probably their opinion of me doing that is, why is he doing this? What's his agenda here? It's just a neighbor looking out for neighbor and trying to be friendly. That's all. And like I said, we've been together for 20 years and we love each other, all the neighbors. We've developed such a close relationship looking out for each other. But until you get to know someone and really understand, it could be a different culture, it could be a different ethnicity background, something you're not used to dealing with. It's new, it's fresh, and there could be hesitancy there. But once people get to know people, everything changes. And it's similar to what goes on right now. People of all walks of life, this is my opinion. I don't care where you're from. If people just came together and congregated and spoke to each other without all the other stuff, the noise, I'll call it the noise, we would all get along fine. In my opinion, I honestly think we would all get along just fine. Yeah, we might have our differences. obviously, but I think we would probably have a good time together. You know, until certain things started coming up, and then things could get a little dicey. But otherwise, I think people in general, I think people of all walks of life can get along with each other. It's the other things that get in the way, in my opinion. So I don't know how you all feel about that, but that's just like my opinion on like that. Unfortunately, I had a lot of racism back in the school until they addressed it in this Department of Education. I went through a fair bit. Yeah, I mean, but the whole reason I'm mentioning all of this because I guess the media has a big part in this because that's all they push 24/7. You know, they use it. And people see that and they think, oh my God, what the hell is happening in the United States? That represents such a very small, when you see what's going on the streets, literally. I've been living here 20 years. I've never seen anything go on in my neighborhood. Have you? I haven't. Everything's been beautiful up here for 20 years. When I go, it's so surreal. When I go on my bike rides, people smile. They even wave, thumbs up, whatever. They're so friendly. It's a beautiful thing. And I see people, many Orthodox Jews coming on tour groups, or people from all over the world, because there's a tourist-like spot by me. And they're just doing their thing. Nobody's bothering them. It's so beautiful how people are just doing their thing. And yes, you see a lot of people from the Middle East. You could tell the way. Oh. What is it, Kendrick? Kendrick, what is it? Kendrick! Oh my God, he's messing with the dog. What is it? What's up? All right, I'll come there. I'll be right back. That's why he's going after you, because he's got food. That's exactly why. You know how he is. Oh, I got to take you to work a little early.
I was going to tell you, bro, I want to hit the gym too.
When?
Like now.
Now?
Yeah, I want to get ready.
Like, really? Oh, get ready. I'll take you.
Okay.
Because I got to do a show at 2.
Okay.
So that works out.
And I don't have to stay late. I could just get out at 10 today.
That's a good idea. Please. It's better. Tycho! Holy shit. He didn't bite you, did he?
No.
Here.
No, he's going to bite me again.
This fucking dog is crazy. He's actually following you.
He bit me already through I had my hands on the pocket.
You gotta see Mom's hand.
He went at her.
He cut her bad.
Damn, bro.
Bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, get ready. I'll drop you off at work. Okay. My dog was eating and he walks in the room and he goes to bite him. It's not funny, but I gotta laugh. My dog went after him. Anyway, let's see what's going on in chat. Start with this left. No, it's the right crap. Who said that? I didn't say that. I definitely didn't say that. Okay, let's see. It's both sides' problems because 4 years is not enough to make big changes in a country without investments. If you had a monarchy or something, then time is not the same problem. Okay. So I say to them, quit being part of the problem and start being part of the solution. My dogs are looking around to see who's Francis. I saw Tusi was live. What's up, Ulysses? Yeah, it is. We have that issue, definitely. There's no doubt. Usually, and I don't want to make this into a political conversation. I don't. I, again, with all the speculation out there and talk, the main thing is what Rubio said this morning. This is, I think, the most important thing we've seen come out from someone that put all of it on the line. All the other stuff that I'm going to read is going to be, this source says this source says this person said that, this. No, when it comes directly from the person, then we're talking. I hate when somebody says, well, this source said this, this official said this. Well, then who were they? You can't confirm it. It's a source. Who's the source? What's the source? I do not like doing that. But when you hear Marco Rubio say this morning,
It's put together by a number of partners who wanted to attend and be a part of it. I saw conflicting reports yesterday from the Iranian side saying that they had not agreed to that. So that's still being worked through. At the end of the day, the United States is prepared to engage and has always been prepared to engage with Iran. As far as the topic of those discussions and what the agenda needs to be, look, I think in order for talks to actually lead to something meaningful, they will have to include certain things. And that includes the range of their ballistic missiles. That includes their sponsorship of terrorist organizations across the region. That includes the nuclear program, and that includes the treatment of their own people. The fundamental problem Iran faces and the regime faces right now is that what people are on the streets complaining about, this regime cannot address. They cannot address it because it's economic. Those problems remain. And one of the reasons why the Iranian regime cannot provide the people of Iran the quality of life that they deserve is because they're spending all their money, they're spending all their resources of what is a rich country sponsoring terrorism, sponsoring all these proxy groups around the world, exporting, as they call it, their revolution. But I remind everybody what I've been saying through my entire career in public service. I said it in my hearing when I was asking for confirmation through the Senate. The Iranian people and the Iranian regime are very unalike. In essence, what the Iranian people want, this is a culture with a deep history. These are people that are the leadership of Iran at the clerical level does not reflect the people of Iran. I know of no other country where there's a bigger difference between the people that lead the country and the people who live there.
and a lot of people might question that, depending on what your opinion is. But despite all the politics involved and all this, the main content of what he's saying there that is of really importance is this: the ballistic program has to be discussed, the money to the proxies, of course the people of Iran, and the nuclear. Iran said nuclear only. They're not talking about their ballistic missile program, because could you imagine, he just said the range of their ballistic missile program. So anything that threatens who? Israel? Right? Do you honestly think, and you got to look at this from, let's just look at it from an Iranian perspective. Their sovereignty, their right to defend themselves, the missiles are a big part of that in their, and you're asking them to limit it, give it up. I mean, just from a practical sense, do you think they would do something like that? So for them, that's a non-starter. So when he says that, it's a non-starter, because the Iranian government, they're not going to agree to that. They're just not. That's why I don't think the talks, they could happen. They could go there and still listen to, and then they're going to say, no, we're not going to agree to this. Or they can just say, the Iranian position might be, are they nuts? We're not going to even meet with them. Why bother? There's nothing to talk about. And we're going to find out probably by today whether the meetings are still going to go on by this afternoon or not, because I'm sure they've gotten word about what he said this morning. And that's why I say, forget it. I'm not concentrating on the opinions coming from pro, anti, this, that. It's how this affects the whole picture moving forward. That's why that's significant. Because if there's no meeting and there's no deal, you know what the president has said. Bad things will happen. He said it. Now, is he going to... I don't see him why he wouldn't stay to his word. And like I said, everybody was here. I was kind of baffled with nuclear. This could be a game changer, what he just said, affecting it moving forward. It is a game changer. Because I'm sure it's swirling in Iran right now, his comments. I can only imagine the rhetoric coming out right now, responding to what Rubio said. I wouldn't be surprised the foreign minister or the president of Iran or the Ayatollah makes a statement. How we are not negotiating with them, however they word it. So yeah, I would like to see what you guys say, because I got to go in a few minutes. I just wanted to come on to really bring up what Rubio said, because it's really important. I saw the signals. They did an hourglass symbol last night. Kermit says, instead of wasting time meeting another country, why don't they just do a video call meeting? Quicker and cheaper. Remember, they're not talking directly. There's always an intermediary involved. So Oman, they would have those people like... Could you imagine, though? Could you imagine this? You're in one area, right? Another delegation is in another area, and you've got these people going back and forth, communicating to both parties, because they won't meet directly, but they're there, but they're not. Is that like the most stupidest thing? Are we here to talk or not? Why do we need an intermediary? Why? Can we just talk? Why? A translator I can see, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, a translator, but why do we need somebody to pass messages and then bring them back? It's crazy. Where's John? Oh my God, John, go to sleep. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's bizarre. It really is. But again, that's the reason I came on, is because of this. This is significant. This is a game changer, probably. His statement is probably the game changer right now. I hate to say it. P2 says that Monkeyworks says that we're with between 14 and 30 days. Well, we shall see. But I don't see any... if there are talks in Oman on Friday, I will be shocked after what he said. I will be shocked that Iran doesn't pull out of the meeting now. I will be shocked. Because this isn't Witkoff. This isn't one, this is the Secretary of State. When he says something, it's pretty much coming from the president. You pretty much, and he has actually two roles. National Security Advisor too. If Marco Rubio says something, it's not like Lindsey Graham saying or anything, or somebody else. But when he says it, that's a different story. Yeah, there's not going to be. Oh, really? I-24 is talking about it now? This happened like an hour ago or so. But when I seen it, I was like, oh, I got to go on. Because, like I said, I'll come on if I see there's something important to talk about. If there's like really important news, well, this is really important. Because this can change everything now, moving forward. Everything. You're starting to get a little pissed off waiting now. Oh, yeah. But you got to remember, what happened yesterday, they meet, and what happens this morning, Rubio makes that statement to make it clear. Because I think, like I said, a lot of people were confused. Nuclear talks, nuclear talks, nuclear talks. And people are like, what the heck is going on? What do you mean? What happened to all the other stuff? What about the people of Iran? What about the other stuff you said? Proxy money and missiles, and that's not on the table anymore? And Rubio just, with all that noise out there, people speculating, including myself, finally we got some clarity coming from the Secretary of State. No? Yes? So I'm going to ask this question. Based on what Rubio stated early this morning, do you think there will be a meeting, yes or no, on Friday? Based on Rubio's statement. Before I go, because I got to go and I got a show to do in a little while, like work show. So what do you guys say? Yes or no? Meeting on Friday in Oman. I'm curious. I say no. If it happens, I'll be shocked. But based on this, no. No way. I don't know. You missed what he said? I'll play it again. I'll play it. Let me play the whole thing. I think you guys should hear the whole thing. Even though he talks about a whole bunch of stuff.
Format and location of Friday's talks with Iran, and clarify, given that Iran refuses to negotiate its missile program and insists on a right to enrich uranium, is the U.S. open to a compromise if that means reaching a deal to avoid military action? And separately, if I may, how exactly do these negotiations advance President Trump's repeated pledges to help the Iranian protesters, many of whom are likely to see these nuclear talks as legitimizing the very government that violently massacred its own people?
Well, let me first say, just on the logistics, at the end, let me back up and say, from a big picture perspective, I think it's pretty clear right now, President Trump is willing to talk to and meet with and engage with anyone in the world. I mean, that we don't view meetings as a concession. We don't view meetings as even legitimization. It is our willingness to sit and listen and talk to anyone, any adversary, any ally, obviously, but anyone around the world. And so the president's always been open to that. He showed that in the first administration, and he's showing it again now. And so I think if there's an opportunity to engage directly with counterparts in the Iranian regime, the United States would be open to that, and that's what we're open to. We thought we had an established forum that had been agreed to in Turkey. It was put together by a number of partners who wanted to attend and be a part of it. I saw conflicting reports yesterday from the Iranian side saying that they had not agreed to that. So that's still being worked through. At the end of the day, the United States is prepared to engage and has always been prepared to engage with Iran. As far as the topic of those discussions and what the agenda needs to be, look, I think in order for talks to actually lead to something meaningful, they will have to include certain things. And that includes the range of their ballistic missiles. That includes their sponsorship of terrorist organizations across the region. That includes the nuclear program, and that includes the treatment of their own people. The fundamental problem Iran faces and the regime faces right now is that what people are on the streets complaining about, this regime cannot address. They cannot address it because it's economic. Those problems remain. And one of the reasons why the Iranian regime cannot provide the people of Iran the quality of life that they deserve is because they're spending all their money, they're spending all their resources of what is a rich country sponsoring terrorism, sponsoring all these proxy groups around the world, exporting, as they call it, their revolution. But I remind everybody what I've been saying through my entire career in public service. I said it in my hearing when I was asking for confirmation through the Senate. The Iranian people and the Iranian regime are very unalike. In essence, what the Iranian people want, this is a culture with a deep history. These are people that are the leadership of Iran at the clerical level does not reflect the people of Iran. I know of no other country where there's a bigger difference between the people that lead the country and the people who live there.
Now, I'll re-ask the question. Based on what Rubio said, do you think there could be a meeting that Iran would agree to? Any negotiation based on what he mentioned? Proxies, missiles, the people's Really? Pizzagate went up to 600%? They're gonna push for a meeting. The meeting could still happen. But once Iran hears that they want to talk about the ballistic missile program and all the other stuff there, they're gonna be, heck no. It's only because they've been emphasizing that it's about nuclear only. We are not talking about our missile program or money that we send to our allies in the region, or what we would call proxies. They're not going for that. It's dead in the water. It's he made it clear. We could still have a meeting. It depends on the Iranian reaction now. They might say, hell no, why are we going? Why are we going to meet? Already I told you it's coming out from the other side after they got word of this. They're already, I can only imagine what they're posting now. Oh, there's more. Here's what came out shortly thereafter. They got word of his little comments here. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. We won't make any nuclear deal with Iran that doesn't include... I didn't hear him say this. We won't, because they're actually putting it in quotes. We won't make any nuclear deal with Iran that doesn't include limiting the range of the ballistic missiles. He did mention about the range of the ballistic missiles, so they can no longer threaten Israel. I never heard Israel mentioned in any of those comments. Not once. Nothing. They say it. These negotiations are finished before they even start. Absolutely delusional. Wow, they're now going after the Saudis with Epstein. Look at this. Wow. Now they're going after... I won't even go with what they're posting now. It is cray-cray. Oh, wait, here's one. Now, the other media outlet pretty much said exactly what he said. Yeah, this one actually took it word for word and put his quote out there. Word for word. This one was more responsible. I'm not going to mention the source, but it's pro-regime. And they actually took his entire quote, what he said, and didn't take it out of context. They didn't mix it with other words. They put exactly what he said here and posted it. So it's already making the rounds. And Israeli reporters are also talking about it. So the word is spreading. Without a doubt, the word is starting to spread. So I guarantee by sometime this afternoon, I know what Tusi was discussing this morning. I would not be surprised. I'm really curious to see what Tusi is going to be discussing this afternoon. I definitely am curious because I have a feeling he's going to touch on this subject. Anyway, so there you go. He didn't say anything like that. Exactly. They took it out of context. But the other one did. They directly took what he said and posted it. Yeah, there could be a meeting. There could be. I shouldn't say absolutely no. But like I said, based on what he said, they're not going to agree to the ballistic missile program. There's no way. Forget about the money going to proxies. Yeah, right? What you guys are writing. Yeah, I'm reading all your comments. It is a waste of time. You know going in that there's not going to be. Does anybody think there's going to be a deal reached? Honestly, it's not just nuclear. That's what Iran wants. Just nuclear talks. They've made that very clear. Nuclear talks only. Everything else is not on the table. And Rubio says this, oh yes, it is on the table. They're going to be like, no. No, it's not going to happen. So we shall see. It's noon already. Let's see what happens by, I only give it a few hours to hear the official response from the foreign minister or the president of Iran or even the Ayatollah himself making a statement on it. I'm going to see if they're putting anything up. I would think a reaction might be coming really soon. Really. I would think. And I just don't want to sit here for like scouring because I got to get out of here. So this one says, and I hate it. Sources, senior officials, I can't stand that. Name them. And it's to the Wall Street Journal too. Senior officials from Middle Eastern countries told the Wall Street Journal that, following communications with Iranian diplomats, maybe this is why they don't want them part of it, expectations that the planned U.S.-Iran meeting on Friday would produce positive results have sharply diminished. Officials fear that military escalation and the outbreak of war between the United States and Iran may be becoming inevitable. And this is all over the place about what I just read. Everybody's talking about it. Here, talks between Iran and the United States and Oman will focus solely on the nuclear issue. Oh, this is before you found out about Rubio. With Iran's missile program off the table, Reuters reported, citing an unnamed senior Iranian official. So this is before the Rubio thing. I told you, nuclear only. Well, that's about to change. So this is not good. It's not good. So I need to get off because I got to go take care of business in the house and I got a show to do, actually work related, in less than 2 hours. That's funny, Stephanie. It is inevitable. It is. If they agree, they will go back on it 100%. Oh, God. Like I said, if anything happens later, I'll come back. But now open source finally jumped on it. But they didn't talk about the rest of what Rubio said. I wonder if the president's posting anything. And there's still old news, like somebody posted this 10 minutes ago. Well, you need to get updated. Iran has rejected the participation of Turkey, Pakistan, and the UAE in upcoming U.S.-Iran talks, stating it would only engage in bilateral discussions with the United States. That was before Rubio. That could just be a Saudi thing. That's probably what you're looking at. This is not uncommon. What you see here, this is not uncommon. Anything that you see here, this is not uncommon. That's probably a Saudi drone. They have them. They've been putting them out there. Saudi drone. That's not uncommon. I've seen that numerous times. They have drones too. Like I said, I want to see what the reaction is from the Iranian government. I never seen that one. Saint. That's in Turkey. Oh, that's why. It's a Black Hawk. All of this we could potentially start seeing some stuff going on. But I first want to see what the Iranian reaction is, or if they confirm that the meeting's still going to happen, despite what Rubio said. Okay, I think we're back. That was weird. We should be back. Yeah, it is a slap in the face. I don't know if I'm back because I saw a glitch. Because they were the ones that they were... It's not my internet. With all respect to the people who run this channel, how can I send you something to check out without pissing your page off? You can send it here. Make Iran Great 99 at yahoo.com. I mean, but I understand you're having respect. Okay, cool. No, but that's respectful. I respect that. Not to upset anyone, you know? It's pretty cool, actually. Anyway. So we shall see. Like I said, I need to jump off because I got things to do, but I'll keep an eye on everything that's going on. But you should all keep an eye and see if you find out any news coming out, because now I'm really curious to see what the Iranian reaction is going to be. If they're still going to meet or are they going to pull out. You know, we have to wait and see now to see how this plays out. But after what I've seen with Rubio, I honestly don't see anything coming from a meeting if it were to happen. Even if it happened, I see zero coming out of it. And then we have to see what happens afterwards. So it looks like we're at that point now. We'll find out soon enough where this goes forward. Now, audio's still working. Bud Guy, you have everybody in chat. You all have a great rest of your day. Like I said, I'll be back later. Love to all of you. Keep an eye on things. So if I come back and miss something, you let me know. And keep an eye if Tusi goes live. Because I'm sure he'll be talking about this later because he spoke about something different this morning. All right, I'm out of here. Be blessed, be well, be safe.